Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to another Sree COVID-19 call. My name is Sreenivasan, and I'm honored that you would spend some time with me as we go live at 9 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. 9 a.m. on Thursday, we're going to be doing a different show. My collaboration with Hong Kong University is going to give you a chance to hear from one of the leading infectious disease experts in the world. Professor Yuen Kwong Young is going to speak with me, and he's from the University of Hong Kong, and we're going to talk about masks and other lessons from Asia. So 12 hours from now, wherever you are in the world, you'll want to turn in and tune in for this conversation. Thank you so much for being here. I want you right now to share this feed that you're watching on Facebook or Twitter with your friends. Find me on Facebook, find me on Twitter, and please hit share. I'm also telling my guest speakers so that they can do that. Go and find me and share or tag your friends. We want as many people in the world to join us as possible. This show is talking about life under COVID-19. It's our 20th straight show, 20 days in a row. And it's April 1st, but there's nothing to joke around. We're going to talk about what life is like in multiple cities and how people are coping. We have some fantastic guests, and you're going to meet them in just a minute. Please tag your friends. Please hit share. Please retweet while we get ready for the show. Remember to join us tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, and we're going to talk about masks specifically and other lessons from Asia. But meanwhile, I want to tell you that I have my first sponsor for this show, and we're so excited, and we're so grateful to our sponsor. And let me tell you about Survive with Live Video. Now is the best time to launch your own consistent live stream show during these challenging times. Consumption of live video is up 50%, as I know. Join live streaming expert Tim Sohn, co-host of the Tim and Jim Show and Family First Show, starting this Monday, April 6th, in his 2-month Survive with Live Video founding members program, along with 6 other professionals who've already signed up. Message Tim with questions and sign up at sohnsocialmediasolutions.com. Please sign up by Sunday. You can see the information right on the screen. We hope you will sign up and look at the pricing on this. It's $0 to $100. You get to pick what you can pay. What you can afford, you pay. So $0 to $100 for this fabulous program with Sohn Social Media Solutions. My big thanks to my friend Tim Sohn for being my very first sponsor. Would you like to sponsor what we're doing? Get in touch, Sree@sree.net. That's me. Thanks for joining our session. This is the 20th day we're meeting, and I thought it was time to check in with folks who are living with under COVID-19 around the world, and we want to hear your comments. Tell us where you're watching from. Tell us what you're doing. Let's see who got in first. I see Jonathan Borstein from the East Village, Steve Taylor from Philadelphia, who beat him to it. Tim is watching. That's my sponsor, Tim Sohn. Thank you so much for being with us. Tim says, congrats on the 20th show. Patricia, greetings from Union City. Watching from Kerala, where my parents live, is Girish Kumar. Thank you, sir, for being here. I want to hear what's happening in India. Please tell us. My friend Thomas Alex, also from Kerala, but in Seattle. Thank you, Thomas. Seattle was the epicenter, and now, unfortunately, it is New York. Nadine Ornstein is watching. Fabulous, fabulous curator at the Metropolitan Museum. She's the head of the Drawings and Prints collection, and we all remember the wonderful exhibitions that her team puts together. And you can go right now onto metmuseum.org and enjoy the art there, which unfortunately the museum itself is closed for a while. Paula Kiger is stopping by to say hello. Unfortunately, can't hang around tonight. Thank you for doing this from Tallahassee. And Paula is our dear friend. She helps produce the Sree Sunday New York Times read-along, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time every Sunday. And we have a world-famous guest on the Sunday New York Times read-along. He has the #1 book in the land, in America, the #1 best-selling book. Harlan Coben's going to join us 8:30 a.m. Sunday. New York Times, right here on all the channels you're watching right now, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, 8:30 a.m. Eastern on Sunday. Please join us. We're delighted to have him. And Arlene says, hello again from the Big Apple. Thank you for being here. And we've got Harlan because of Carla Baranakis. Carla, I think in the comments, you can tell folks all about Harlan because he is amazing, but not everyone may know exactly all the things he's done. It's a name they know, but they may not know all his work. And he even has 2 shows right now on Netflix, including The Stranger and Safe House. So do check those out. And Paula says she's so excited about Sunday. And Tim is thanking somebody who signed up for the Survive with Live program. Others, please sign up. Diane's watching from New Jersey. All right, now let me bring in our wonderful guest for today. And here we go. There we go. Look at this beautiful looking group. We're going to have them each say hello, and I can bring their names on screen so you can follow them, connect with them, etc. So first, Asha, please wave. Asha Jayaraman is joining us from Toronto, and AliciaMarie is joining us from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and SF Doug, or Doug Levy, is joining us from San Francisco. And Doug is the author of the Coronavirus Handbook about how to communicate with corona when you're dealing with coronavirus. He's going to tell us about this. I'm going to show you a little bit about the book, but I'm going to ask each of them the first thing I always ask. How are you doing? What's happening around you? How's your family? So Asha, we'll start with you in Toronto. You're north of me. I'm in lockdown in New York City. You're north. You're also looking down on us the way you're standing. So I think that's appropriate. I think that's the typical Canadian attitude towards Americans, looking down on us. So go ahead.
Well, I just moved from New York 6 months ago, so sometimes it's confusing loyalties too. So it's interesting. Toronto, we are. So I am good. I'm safe. My family is safe, and also very lucky and grateful. We moved houses just when people started hoarding supplies. So it was funny because I'm in Canada, I was apologizing to everybody around us and saying, I have all these supplies because I'm moving to a new house. I'm not hoarding. So it was interesting to do that and be in the middle of a renovation and sort of stop at it. But okay, I'm lucky, I'm alive, and I'm healthy, so I'm good. Toronto, what is happening? So we do have Ontario is doing pretty okay in terms of how they're clamping down, the social distancing, of course. And then on the 24th of March, we had what we called a 14-day quarantine, but it does seem like, of course, we're going to go on longer. The streets are empty. Shelves, again, don't have canned foods and toilet paper and the usual scene with the supplies, unfortunately. But the good thing is all the buildings that I was living in before the current building, even our neighbors, when they walk past us, they'll always say, I'm going to the store. Do you want me to pick up something for you? And all the buildings have been sending around notices saying there any elderly, anyone trapped in your house, need supplies, we're here for you. So the outpouring of support is amazing. We also have this hashtag caremongering going on with just the number of initiatives that people are doing.
Did you say
Community
caremongering
initiatives.
with a C?
Yes.
Caremongering. Only Canadians would do
Yes.
that. You're too nice.
The opposite of fear mongering. Actually, the WSJ covered this article. It was very interesting. And I have been also doing TikTok every day for 20 minutes. I watch it to learn and see what possibly my future customers will look like and what they like. So looking at that and checking in with a lot of my friends and family, I set up an informal check-in network too. And it's interesting how much social distancing and social isolation are the different ways they're playing out. And I'm particularly concerned for my friends and family with some history of mental illness too, right? So as part of my company, which is very new, it's 1 week old and we got COVIDed and shut down. It's a grooming service, but I launched an initiative called the T-Bar Reaching Out. It's for Threading Bar is the name of my business, and the initiative is called hashtag T-Bar Reaching Out. Basically, what I said is I'm a small business. I cannot retool, and I don't have manufacturing facilities to do supplies. But I do have a website, an appointment book, and a telephone number. So what we've said is if you want a friendly voice, schedule yourself a half-hour appointment for free, and I will call them and talk to them. And you can re-gift it to your grandparents or anyone in your family, anybody you know is in self-isolation, and I will call them and talk to them for half hour for free.
Wow,
So that's what I'm trying to do.
that's amazing. Just explain what the threading bar, what it does when you will be, when everything opens again. What will you be doing exactly?
So threading bar, we basically said, okay, there's all this hysteria about brows and grooming them and the whole thing. Literally, we capitalized on that by saying we'll go at it at a more sustainable way. Sustainable in the sense, what is sustainable for your long-term skincare? Then what is sustainable in terms of the products I use, how they get disposed, how they get used, or what they're made of, and how I treat my team and how I treat my customers. So
Very
the
nice.
T-bar
And
reaching
yeah,
out, yeah,
okay.
is
So
also about checking in with the team.
I
Sorry,
understand. And
yeah.
so just to close the loop on this, threading is something for eyebrows is something that's very popular in South Asian cultures. And in America, not everybody is comfortable or familiar even with threading instead of plucking and all the other ways you can, or, deal with eyebrows. So that's something in Canada. Is it more common than it is in America?
Actually, it's more common in New York and Bay Area and Texas than it is in Toronto. It's a lot
Okay.
more plucking and waxing,
Okay.
and those tools can have their own effects on the brow follicles. And given how much everyone's willing to pay to just look and have fuller brows, it's kind of scary what all happens in that space. So that's why I'm going at it from a more sustainable point of view, which is even say use a piece of organic thread, right? You shape it precisely, it looks nicer, but you're not putting tools, you're not putting hot wax on your face. So that's how we went at it. So it's not popular in Canada yet. There's
Okay, but
lots
you're
of
going to change
demand,
that, so
but
that'll
no.
be great.
Oh, yes. When
That'll
I'm
be great.
uncovided.
Yes, we hope you'll be bouncing back soon. Let's go to AliciaMarie. I don't know if she wants to talk at all about eyebrows, but she is in Grand Rapids, and she is a mompreneur, a speaker, a coach. So I'm going to have her talk a little bit about how she is and how she's changed her life after living under COVID, and then we will go to our friend Doug Levy.
Thanks, Sree. It's nice to see you. And yes, I have lovely eyebrows, so we can
Yes,
talk
you
about
do.
You do.
I'm proud of them. So I'm here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and as a mom who has been kind of working from home in the freelance gig economy for several years, really over a decade, off and on there, and then more recently doing my coaching business and a little bit of marketing kind of consulting. I am kind of used to having kids at home. It's just usually in a couple more months, and we usually adjust and have a build-up time and things like that. So working with kids underfoot is something I really understand, and my heart goes out to everyone who was thrown into this situation unprepared. I kind of feel like I've been more prepared than many people, and so I'm grateful for that. And I also feel like I can be a little bit of a voice of sanity in the middle of insanity. And so what I do is love to just talk to people. I love what Asha was sharing, calling people. Michigan is kind of a hot spot. We have, as of today, we reported today, new cases alone today was 1,719. And that puts us up at 9,000 cases, over 9,000, and we're over 300 deaths. And so we're not yet New York, but the Detroit area is being hit really, really hard. And everything in our area is about gearing up for that. So I don't know where to go from here. There's so many different ways, but I do know that my sister has been working at the local hospital here in Grand Rapids, one of the major hospitals in Spectrum Hospital, and she forwarded a very nice email from the CEO of the company. It's a great example of great crisis communication, and it's a great example of being in touch and in tune with what's going on with people. And one of the things she was very clear in there is that this is just the beginning. We're at about 119 cases in my county, so we're just ramping up really and growing. And so when I'm out and about, which I do go out almost daily on a walk with the kids, and we also are getting local school, which is about 3 blocks away, food being delivered. We live in an inner city kind of neighborhood, so many kids rely on food from the schools to get meals, and so we're doing that only 3 times a day. There's lots of precautions, and we don't walk it, we do drive now for that, and it gets delivered to our car. But I see people out, and then we do a little drive, and so there are still people who are not doing the social distancing isolation as much as I would like. I feel a little uncomfortable going to the store. I went to the store over a week ago, and people just felt like they were right in my face, and I'm like, get away, take this seriously. I do get calls from my neighbors, so that was nice checking in with them today. And another person checked in with me today that happens to work with the elderly population specifically, and they're experiencing in our area concerns already about money and maybe not being able to get to the pharmacy, and also, interestingly enough, not being able to get distilled water for their CPAP machines. So that's an interesting thing that I didn't think about until today, that there just isn't distilled water easily available. So there are sometimes those shortages in supplies, and I think that the main thing for us is to, yes, my household is healthy, and I'm very grateful for that. My husband also is working at Amazon, which is a new job in a new warehouse in the area. And so they've done a great job with crisis communication too, in reaching out to the employees and giving them, like, just thank you for showing up because you're an essential worker. And they have had their first confirmed case in the area, and so they're taking lots and lots of measures too. So all I can say is, as we navigate uncertain times, it's just really important to take it one day at a time, one moment at a time. Remember that it's okay if we get frustrated. It's okay if we get stressed out. It's okay to practice some self-care, some compassion, to ask for forgiveness with our kids when we yell at them because we're stressed out. It's okay to forgive ourselves when technology doesn't work or we can't get everything done we think we should get done. It's just okay. Like, just I'm practicing myself and encouraging the people I talk with. Let's just take some radical acceptance that this is the facts. We don't have to love them, and there are ways we can navigate. So I'm doing a weekly call now, and Sree, you have been a great inspiration. I want you to know that I really admire what you're doing here and bringing everyone together around the world. And so, and I love this new platform that you're sharing and using. It's been awesome. So 10 o'clock on Tuesdays in the morning, Eastern time, I am getting online and having hour-long conversations. I'm calling them Standing Firm When Your World is Shaking, so
Nice.
that we can navigate these uncertain times in this terrain together, because that's how we're going to get through.
Before we go to Doug, how do people find the show or the call?
Yeah, so I'm doing it through this platform using right now Facebook and YouTube.
Nice.
So I can put that give that to you so you can put it.
Yeah,
on
put it in the chat room and I'll bring that up. So let's go to Doug. Doug, just before I bring you on, Diana Rohini, our good friend out in San Francisco, who works in the comms department of the San Mateo County Health System, she just tweeted, happening right now, COVID-19 discussions with great guests, including San Francisco's own comms expert at SF Doug. So I will come to you, join the discussion. Thank you, Diana, and a salute to all healthcare workers. At 7 p.m. Eastern time, maybe it's rolling at 7 p.m. In all time zones, but 7 p.m. today, we were outside on our balcony making noise and celebrating healthcare workers. So we celebrate Diana and everybody, not just the doctors and the nurses, but the aides and the people who are communicating, all of those folks. So Doug, tell me how you are. It's just good to see you. You know, the way we always say good to see you, but in this environment, we really mean that.
It's been, none of us, I think, this kind of situation in the United States. So we're all learning day by day. And it's helpful to have conversations like this so that we know that we're not alone. You know, it actually makes me feel good to hear how things are in Toronto, which is a city that I know very much, I know pretty well. And I'm not surprised that things are a little calmer there. I'm also fortunate to be in California, where we do seem to have gotten it at least closer to right than some other parts of the country. And, you know, there's still a lot of cases. We've had 171 deaths and over 8,000 confirmed cases, and no way to know how many unconfirmed cases. But San Francisco's mayor was, I believe, the first public official to tell people stay home. And that was really wise. You know, the pace of new cases has definitely started to go down. And that is a huge, huge blessing, basically, because the overload of the hospitals that we're seeing in Detroit and Boston and New York and Georgia and Louisiana, almost every place else, so far, it's close in California, but I'm not aware of any hospitals that are actually beyond capacity yet. Although I have not checked all the data today, so I could be wrong. But things, at least, the rate of increase has slowed down. The other thing is that we are, you know, this is an advantage of being kind of a liberal, progressive area where people do take public service and community spirit pretty seriously. So once the message got out that this is for everybody, that, you know, we are in this together, most people really got it. Even before it was mandated, most of the large employers said, everybody just stay home. And that was huge. So
yeah. So let's tell everybody about your book, Doug. You managed to write a book in the middle of all of this, and I'm going to call it up here so people can see it.
There's actually a version on Amazon now.
Oh, good. Okay, so I'll put the Amazon version, but tell us about the book.
So what I did, this is an adaptation plus about 5 new chapters. I did a book 2 years ago that was a handbook for emergency communicators. And this now has all the things, or at least many of the things, that if you are communicating about a health emergency, what are the key considerations? If you're a business or a not-for-profit organization or a healthcare organization, or just, you know, you've got a homeowners association, whatever your reason for communicating may be, how do you form the messages? How do you know that you're including the right things? And I actually did a presentation earlier today for nonprofit communicators, and the substance of that talk actually is going to be another chapter that will go in the update of this book, because this was completed March 16th. There's already stuff to add to it.
Right.
My editor had to kind of grab the manuscript away from me to get it at least printed. There will be a print version, by the way, soon, but the folks that handle the printing have all had to not work. So we'll see.
You're going to get me the Amazon link, so I'll show them that. But for now, the book is called The Communications Handbook for Coronavirus and Other Health Emergencies, Best Practices for Businesses, Government Officials, and Public Health Leaders. Give us 1 or 2 key takeaways that would help why people should get this book and what makes sense at this time.
There's 2 things. One is, if you're in a place like New York or San Francisco or Seattle, your experience of this outbreak is entirely different from somebody in Texas or Oklahoma or even Louisiana or Florida. Everybody is experiencing this differently. And if you're going to effectively communicate, you must understand that you may not have the same perspective as your audience, and you've got to put yourself in. And then the other part is that this is not going to go away quickly. There's never going to be normal again. Governor Cuomo talked about that this morning. Business and life has changed and will change forever. So it doesn't mean don't communicate about things getting back to some kind of normal activity, but make sure that you're aware of the fact that this is upheaval for everybody. How can you contribute to that restoration of life as we know it?
And so who do you think is doing a really good job? Talk about that a little bit, please.
Well, I'm not going to mention the obvious example of who's not doing a good job. There have been some very, very smart messages from companies that sell stuff who have wisely taken a step back and put their sales stuff on hold and just said, hey, look, we kind of don't have a role here. We're in this with you. Here's something that we found helpful for us. You want to share it with us? Well, here's the link. There's a lot of companies that have opened up online educational videos. I love to cook, so I've got like 2-month free subscriptions to 3 or 4 different fairly high-end cooking schools. Now, I don't have time to watch them, but it's nice that that's available. And yes, I'm going to think of those brands if I ever have money again. And it's that sort of reassurance. Verizon's message is on TV, and I think AT&T is doing similar spots where they talk about the things that they're doing. It's like, we're here, we're not in our offices, but we're keeping things connected so that you can manage through this uncertainty. That's a pretty good message to have.
And you think that this is working for them, and even our friend Asha just said that, right? Her eyebrow threading business is on hold, so she's doing something really cool, which is saying, book an half-hour call with me if you're in isolation or you're feeling lonely. I will talk to you. What a wonderful way of being relevant, so that whenever everything's back, people will associate good. I mean, she's doing it because she's a nice person, but it'll also be good for her business because it reflects who she is.
Exactly. And it's the long-term relationship nurturing that you're doing. You're not likely, I mean, if you are trying to sell stuff, don't think of that right now. In many cases, like around me, everybody that I know has lost their jobs, pretty much. And that's going to actually get worse, not better. So be part of the community. And I guarantee you that will be good for your business in the long run.
Thank you. Look at this note. Ashok says, hi, good information. Thanks, Sree. I'm your father's friend. He was with me to console me when I lost my wife on February 15th. I'm so sorry. You'd like a link to the book. So I'm going to ask Doug in the private chat room to give us the link, but also put the Amazon link in the Facebook, in my Facebook Live, so that people can get that. So thank you, Ashok. I'm so sorry for your loss. This was really sad. We're seeing so many people with losses at this time, but every loss is tragic, and we wish you the very best. And thank you for checking in, folks. We're just going to remind everybody what's happening right now, what we're doing, and we'll give you a chance to. I'm going to go back to each of my speakers and hear their stories, and also hear about life under COVID-19. Let me remind you of who our speakers are. And here we go. Our speakers are Doug Levy at SF Doug. He's from the Bay Area, and he's the author of the Communications Handbook for Coronaviruses and Other Health Emergencies. And AliciaMarie Belchak from Michigan is a speaker, coach, writer, and journalist. and author of Leap into Action guidebook. And we're going to tell you how you can talk to her every Tuesday morning to stand firm while your world is shaking. And Asha Jayaraman is joining us from Toronto. She's a small business owner and former New Yorker who has moved to Toronto. We're also getting live tweets from Rose Horowitz 31 and Vandana _Menon. We're so grateful for them, to them for amplifying what we're doing. I'm also very grateful to my friend Tim Sohn as the very first sponsor of my social conversation, my global daily COVID-19 call. If you would like to sponsor us, please email me, sree@sree.net. But in this case, we want you to go to sohnsocialmediasolutions.com. You see the address right on the screen. He's offering a course on live streaming. So there's a meta ad, as they say, and you can pay $0 to $100 for 2 months of coaching from him. That's an incredible gift, and this is exactly what Doug was talking about. Of course, he'd like to make a sale. He's a small businessman, but he's also saying, let me give away the training so that people can benefit from that. So Doug, I wanted to get your thought on that, and then I'm going to go to Asha about thinking the way Tim is for this conversation. And remember, folks, everybody, please tag a friend, somebody who would benefit from this right now, this conversation. We're talking and just sharing ideas. Please tag your friends right now. Let them join us. Please hit share if you're watching live on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, and it'll be archived on those platforms, but most easily found on Sreenet, which is my YouTube channel. I only have about 500 followers there, but I'm learning how to use it. Come on that journey with me by subscribing to Sreenet. So Doug, very quickly, this idea that Tim is doing is charging $0 to $100. Even you with your book, you're doing it at minimum profit because you want to get the information out, right?
Absolutely. And that's what we are seeing. And part of it is that there were a lot of consultants who just have time on their hands. But it's actually, I think, a wonderful and really boost each other. Whether it's learning something completely different or just doing a better job with stuff you've been wanting to do. I tuned into a webinar that a guy whose blog I've been following for years, but I've never caught any of his classes or anything because I don't want to pay $1,000. He was doing a free Facebook Live in the afternoon. It's like, hey, that's pretty cool. And it was like him in his living room and his kid running around and 5 or 6 other people just like me.
Wonderful. Well, yeah, I'm glad that he was doing that, so that was helpful to you. So look at Asha modeling good behavior. She's sneezing into her elbow. And Tom wants us all to wear masks. And in fact, tomorrow morning, I'm going to be talking about the value of masks with a great expert on infectious diseases from Hong Kong, live at 9 a.m. Eastern. So about about 11 hours from now. Please join us in this very important conversation as we all try to learn how to survive this crisis. And he's going to talk about the importance of masks and other lessons from Hong Kong. So let's go to Asha. You've lived in New York and you've lived in Toronto. What is it about the Canadian medical system that we don't understand here yet, and that is so much better in many ways than the American one?
Wow, that's a loaded question. Okay, I'm still navigating the Canadian health system myself too, because it takes some time before you get into it and all of that. But I think one of the things much more, because I'm not very well informed about the healthcare here yet, but one of the things that happened to me, right, which is very strange, is when I lived in New York, every morning I'd wake up and be like, what has happened today with a particular person and what has this person said? And what's that going to mean for me, right? So that stress kind of came down, and it played out pretty interestingly when all this came down too, and I was disappointed I had to shut down within a week of starting my business. But I kept saying, at the end of the day, this is Canada, so we're going to come out okay. We will be fine. And you already see that in just the way the governments mobilized themselves. It's truly amazing to me, because I used to do government budgets for the city of New York while I lived there. So now I follow these budgets and the economic stimuluses that they're giving, right? It's nice to see how fast they act is one. And the second is just very, very sensible initiatives, right? So what they've done for small business owners is saying, we will give you up to 75% wage subsidy. So they're basically encouraging any business owner to not terminate anybody, but possibly manage with layoffs, give a few hours and let people earn some money. And the government's backdated it too. So that's a good advantage. But overall, they have already mobilized banks and anybody with lending facilities to give us access to credit and liquidity very immediately. So I think that's a very sensible initiative for small business owners. And similarly, even for accessing benefits, they've eased up a lot of the conditions and everything's already been online forms, right? So no one needs to be waiting for 3 hours. That's what my bank said, which is a big bank. And they said, we don't want everyone waiting for 3 hours because it's a stressful time, but we also have such an uptake in demand. So they've all done online forms and you get responses. So overall, I feel a little less stressed about my business and about my team because our business is to touch our customers' faces. So post-COVID, what I'm actually preparing for is possibly higher service costs per customer because I might have to do overtly sanitization, for instance, or there might be additional compliance. So my costs will go up, but I can't necessarily take my price up because discretionary spending is possibly going to come down too. So it's interesting, but I'm hopeful and I'm more worried for my team because like waitresses and bartenders and the whole hospitality sector, aestheticians cannot telecommute or work from home. So that bothers me too. And we'll see what comes out. We're hopeful. It's Canada.
Thank you. And can you tell us how people can sign up for a half-hour call with you to just talk to you and just connect?
Yes. So just please go on to www.threading.bar, and it does not follow with the .ca or a .com. It's just threading.bar, and the homepage will already has a button to say schedule here. I encourage and ask everyone to please reach out. Please do. I'm a loner, so this is the stuff of dreams for me, the quarantine. My real trouble was my husband usually travels a lot, so how are we going to do in like cooped up spaces with renovation going on in the house or not accessible? So I'm lucky that's my problem. But thank you, Sree. So that is our website, and you can schedule yourself a call, or please also re-gift it. Please.
Okay, yeah. And so just to understand, because most people have probably never typed a .bar ever instead of .com or .any of that. So that's pretty cool. Threading.bar, and you can schedule time. So here she is, just trying to be helpful, trying something new. I love that. Well done, and thank you. Let's go to AliciaMarie, who is sending me so many useful updates throughout the day. But let's have her tell us, she went to a town hall today, right? Where she got a chance to listen to some public officials. So talk about that. And as you hear the difference between America and Canada, does that make you sad, upset, angry? How do you feel? And then isn't it also true that parts of Detroit are north of Canada?
I think Detroit should be where Michigan's part of Canada. We kind of talk like Canadians. In fact, I did get confused as a Canadian when I lived in New York City back in the day. So that was fun. So today we had a live town hall. Actually, I've been very impressed with my representatives here from Michigan. About 2 weeks ago, I received a phone call from a House of Representatives member, and he was just calling it was in a robot call. We got a town hall, and you stay on the call. You got to ask live questions. Today, Senator Gary Peters from Michigan, I believe he's a Democrat, called similar thing, a teletown hall. And it's an interesting way to communicate, and I have never experienced that in my lifetime, where government officials from the federal level, in this case, were coming and reaching out to their citizens and their constituents to give them the latest and greatest. And I think it's an example of a good communication using technology that we've had for a long time, and just how hard it is to get good information, good reports out there. Because even when I watch the media, the regular media, there still seems to be this obligation to quote Trump, and sometimes we know he's not saying the things that are on the script, let alone the truth, because he's just doing whatever Trump does. So it's interesting that the senators, the representatives are stepping up. I think the governors are stepping up, and they're communicating to people directly, because we have to cut through the clutter. I did not plan on talking about all that, but it's just an interesting insight in terms of, you know, whatever we're doing here in America, I think is a great chance to shift, to change, and use technology in a new way. So Senator Peters was saying that the economy is obviously taking a really hard hit. It's very serious. It's not like a switch. You can just turn it on and off again. So there will be this ramp up time, like Asha's saying with her business. And I think many entrepreneurs and, you know, freelancers and people, you've had great shows already with people talking about that and the economic hard hit. I'm grateful personally in our household that we will be receiving a stimulus check. And one of the new things that's changing, I think, with the bill is, according to Senator Peters, is that people who are in the consulting business, the freelance gig economy, and self-employed people who would normally not be eligible for unemployment are going to be eligible for unemployment. And we're extending that now to 39 weeks of unemployment for everyone, and people who've exhausted their benefits too. So I think that this infusion of cash is going to help people. And if we know that we're being taken care of by our government, there can be a little bit of relaxation, hopefully, to soothe some of those raw ends on our nerves. There's so much uncertainty. We don't also need to be worrying about economic uncertainty. And he was also sharing about how he's actually ahead of the Homeland Security. He's on that committee overseeing FEMA, and that they're struggling, but they're working very hard to get the personal protective equipment and get those to the front line healthcare workers, and that there's actually going to be a need for a ramp up of stockpiling in the federal. And of course, Michigan is a hotspot. We're, from all intents and purposes, from the local hospital person, CEO, excuse me, she was saying in her letter that Michigan's on pace to be getting as many cases as fast as New York or faster, and that we're going to probably hit our hospital capacity early May. And so the social distancing and getting all that personal protective equipment, getting ventilators, Ford and GM are ramping up, but it takes time. All this stuff takes time to switch over. I'm really, really proud to be a Michigander, and, you know, it's sad and unfortunate to be at the central, so to speak. I'm sure, you know, living in New York, being in the central hot spot of it, it's not, there's a level of nerve going on there, but to see how people are coming together and how, as a state, you know, we're having to be leaders, I think that's very interesting. So Senator Peters talked about how they're ramping up too. So it's not just about getting equipment everywhere, to the places that they need most, and that in
the timely manner, right?
In a timely manner, and getting it to where we need it. But then also considering that this is a long-term situation until we get that vaccine. Best case scenario, in 18 months, we're going to need to have more stuff, and we should be prepared. I love this one quote that I got from him today. Senator Peters said, basically, he was saying that, you know, diseases and pandemics and epidemics and different outbreaks have been around. They're part of the human history. And what he said was, a direct quote here, we have to be better prepared for the next one. And we should have been prepared for this one.
I think there was plenty of notice that we could have at least done something more, I feel, in America, but that's for another day. I want to tell you about two things that she's offering. in AliciaMarie Belchak. Please check her out. Leap into Action, a guidebook. It's a free download, and she's made a nice bit.ly link for it. So you can take a photo of that or a screenshot so you can check it out later or look in the archives. But bit.ly/leap into action 2020. I love that. And she also has a show, Standing Firm When Your World is Shaking, 10 a.m. Tuesday, bit.ly with life coach AliciaMarie, or bit.ly/Life Mastery TV. Ooh, sounds.
That's the YouTube one. It's brand new. So
yeah, you're learning. We're all learning, right? We're all learning. I love that. AliciaMarie, thank you for sharing those. Doug, you've been listening to this. I see also inside Facebook you're having an argument with my friend Tom about face masks. And why is there so much confusion around some of the aspects of this crisis that communication, and let's leave Washington out of it, or let's leave the White House out of it for a minute. What would you have if you were comm czar for America? What would have the playbook been, and how have we lost out?
Well, we actually had a playbook. We literally had a playbook. There was a 110-page document that was the National Health Security Plan, and included in it was the essential aspect of consistent messages from the government when there's a health crisis. That got thrown away by folks who I won't name, but let's just say that piece is not in the current plan. And the confusion, never mind which political side you're on. When people are afraid, they are drawn to things that are simple, that they believe, and things that they can actively do or believe in order to avoid inconvenience. And one of the reasons that I respectfully disagree with the concept of the masks, although there is some validity to it, I'm not going to argue that there isn't, but most of the people that I have seen wearing N95s or surgical masks don't understand that. But nobody's listening. Nobody's communicating clearly, and nobody's actually listening. So if we tell people, hey, wear a bandana, that'll reduce the strain on the supply for the folks that need the medical gear. And it certainly won't do any harm. The problem is that the N95s, when they're worn incorrectly, actually increase your risk of infection. They don't decrease it.
Yeah, so we want to make it clear, as we always say on these shows, I've had 8 doctors who kindly showed up on these shows, and we're going to have one, every other show. I'm going to try and have a doctor.
I'm not a doctor.
Yeah, we should take advice from doctors. But Doug is an expert in communication, and I'm so grateful that he's here with us at SF Doug. We're taking questions, folks, so please type in your question, and we'll bring them to you. We're on Twitter. We're on LinkedIn. I want to read a couple of the LinkedIn messages. Nancy's watching from New York, and Marianne is watching from the central coast of Australia. And this is really, Doug, a global crisis that no one, you said there's a playbook for it, but we still didn't expect it, right? It could have happened, and it did. And you're saying, as AliciaMarie said, we need to prepare for the next one. But how do you get, and you work with cops, you've done a lot of training for police officers, including NYPD, and we saw today that 5,000 NYPD officers have called in sick today. 900 have COVID, some number like that. Like, how is a police department going to survive? I think New York City has 40,000 police officers, something like that. But to have 5,000 call out sick, they don't all have COVID, but just talk about the leadership. Some of these folks. How are they dealing with it? And what can you tell us about that process?
Well, part of the problem is just people are afraid, and there's good reason to be afraid. The fact that there was mixed messages adds to the concern. So if you've got one something that's on the scale of scariness, you immediately question who's telling the truth, who's trying to hide something, and you think the worst. And I think the current leadership of the NYPD has done the best they could under the situation. But when we don't have sufficient personal protective equipment for the emergency room people, let alone police and firefighters, it's not a surprise that some folks are calling in sick. Now, NYPD has 36,000 sworn officers, another 15 to 20,000 of civilian employees. You know, the streets are going to be safe and well patrolled. They just need to, rearrange the schedules a bit. But when you have that many people actually getting sick, and they've already had at least one detective die, these people should have been protected. We're letting them down.
Yeah, no, I agree. But Tim says, thank you for all our first responders. And we want to thank everybody who's showing up for work as essential workers when it's so hard. Our healthcare workers, our doctors, our police, fire. You can hear, if I pause for a second, you can hear that the music of New York City, the soundtrack of New York City, the sirens. We also want to thank grocery store clerks and pharmacy clerks. I mean, imagine that they don't have to be doing this, but they are doing it because many of them have to do it because they need the money. And that's also part of the confusion. I have a friend who has been calling in to find out if he's eligible for the check, and he's not been able to get information. He got like what do you call a rope, a form letter back giving him information about COVID-19 and how to wash his hands. Like, that's not what he wanted to hear, right? He wanted to know how he can get his money. And that's what AliciaMarie was talking about as well. So I think we all need to be thinking about our fellow man and woman and how we can help our brothers and sisters at this time. I think that's one of the things that we've lost in all of this, that when we hoard all the hand sanitizer, to get to be healthy, we need to make sure there's enough hand sanitizer for other people. And that's where probably the Canadians have got it better, though I think I heard Asha say that they also had some shortage of toilet paper and hand sanitizer. Tell me Canada is better than us on that.
Yes, we are. We do seem to do a lot better on that. Just the number of people who write to you or text and everything, that you remember we were talking about how people are saying, we'll buy groceries. So a lot of the hashtag caremongering, I will look up that Wall Street Journal article again and send it around, is about people organizing themselves and going and buying supplies for people who are in self-isolation. And that's putting themselves at risk too, right? Just being out there. But they're doing this because the elderly are stuck. 2 days ago, Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, which is province, state, he asked 70-year-olds to go into self-isolation for 14 days. So more of these are coming out where people are just organizing and helping each other out overnight. This is how people get together. So we're mostly good, but there are always going to be bad apples, right? And Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, also has been shaming a lot of grocery chains for eye gouging prices that they're doing on essentials. And he said, we're going to come down hard on you and even fine you $100,000 if I catch you. So don't let me catch you. And he's cool too. Today, he drove a truck out to a dentist's office who said, we have equipment for you that supplies. And he drove out there, picked it up, and took it to a hospital. So that's very encouraging. It's good. We have the rationing going, but like I said, there's always bad apples, right? And we keep telling everyone we meet, think of a single mom who cannot afford to hoard diapers.
Right.
Think of elderly who are probably living off of benefits and they can't afford to hoard things. So please just take one, be happy, go. Toilet paper, still don't get it, but
yeah, that's so important. Here's Arlene, who says, my local precinct in Manhattan has one small bottle of hand sanitizer per person that's supposed to last how long? I donated a large bottle of Purell, bless you, and have started a drive to collect hand sanitizer. A tough thing to part with, but perhaps some who have stockpiled supplies can spare a bottle. Doug, as you hear that our first responders are given a tiny bottle and expected to be able to use it, and I mean, how does that happen?
I don't have a good answer for that, but I can say that one of the really great examples of people thinking bigger and this started with just one little distillery in Portland, and it's now been adopted by the entire Distillery Association, and I think even Anheuser-Busch. All these liquor, wine, and beer producers have been making massive amounts of hand sanitizer and giving them away, which to first responders and others, and that's fantastic. It shouldn't have been necessary, but that's the kind of thinking we need more of.
Yeah, thank you. Folks, we're already out of time, so I want to give each of my speakers a chance to give us their final thoughts and to share anything that they'd like, and if they are up for it, something optimistic, something that gives them hope if they would like to do that. And I'm going to start with Asha, then go to AliciaMarie, and then to Doug. So Asha, we're going to start with you. Tell us some of your final thoughts and leave us with some hope. So she is going to unmute herself.
Hope. Asha means hope. So I will, and I am also hoping that after this call that I will see maybe a couple more appointments on the book. Either we've been re-gifting or anybody stuck in self-isolation. I'm very insistent on this. I know Doug said it's good because I don't want to sell anything at this time. It just feels so wrong. But these are the ways, like tons of breweries, tons of other factories here have already retooled and started providing supplies, right? It's been going on here. So I was almost embarrassed that I hadn't found a way. So this was my way of doing it and saying, I'm already paying for all these subscription services. I have them, so I may as well make use of it. So please, please, please do reach out. And I call it social distancing like a hero, because we do need to do that. And this will be the worst if we can keep at it, and it's for the long haul. We're not getting out anytime soon. I'm okay with that. I'll live with that. I'll figure this out. That's what I'm doing.
Well,
praise be to all of us. Yes, we're going to get through this.
Yes, I like that. Ramon says, well done. And Mark says, we're seeing a lot of positive people. And Steve says, thank you all. And by the way, Steve's the one who got me on this kick to say that it is social distancing, but it's more physical distancing, but we can be socially close thanks to this kind of technology. So the website is threading.bar, B-A-R. And you can go and sign up or tell a friend so they can sign up and have a conversation with this very interesting Torontonian and former New Yorker. So thanks very much, Asha. Really appreciate
Thank you.
You're also standing for an hour. So if you want to leave, you can, and I'll talk to the rest of our team here. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
So let me go now to AliciaMarie, who has two things that you can do with her. You can follow her amazing Tuesday calls where she tells you how you can stand firm when your world is shaking. And she has this Leap into Action guidebook. It's a free download, so you must sign up for that. And what will you learn in that guidebook, AliciaMarie?
Well, I wrote this guidebook early in the new year. So I was thinking 2020 and how we have this leap year. We have this phenomenal opportunity to just think about how we're using time. We can add a day to our calendar. So why not add, change how we're doing things. So it's it's 20 practical ideas, activities, exercises you can run through it. I've broken it up into different categories. So if you can walk through and do like a 20-day challenge to try to do all 20. You can do pieces that help you, but it's designed to get you unstuck and get you moving again. And it's even more important. When I wrote it, I didn't even know yet that we were going to be dealing with what the COVID situation and what we're dealing with now. And I think it's just become even more important that we have so many tools available to us to center ourselves, to think bigger, to dream bigger, even in the middle of difficulty and challenge and circumstances that seem completely opposite. So I encourage, the download is great. And, we can definitely stay in conversation because we have to keep moving forward. There's something about building momentum. And what I was sharing today when I was sharing online, I did the standing firm class today, conversation today, because April Fool's technology didn't work yesterday. But the point is that I was talking about the humongous opportunity we have as a species. This time calls for the best in humanity, and it's going to call out the best in humanity. We have the opportunity to grow ourselves and change. There's long-term habits that will come out of this. There's policies that will come out of this. There's economic changes that will come out of this. We've already heard about how there's environmental changes coming out of this. And more than ever, we have to be our best selves. And it doesn't mean we're going to be perfect or that we can't experience stress and frustration. But what it means is that we have to learn how to navigate it together in our families, in our communities, with our colleagues. And we have to be able to think creatively. If we're stressed out and in fear mode, that's where the hoarding comes from, psychology of that, of lack, and not realizing that we're actually in a place where we have abundance. One of my very, very favorite quotes, I think it's very apropos for this time, is this idea that in adversity, every adversity has an equal or greater benefit still. So every adversity has an equal or greater benefit still, if we're willing to stay open and look for the good, look for the opportunity. So that's what building momentum, taking action, even in the middle of difficult times, is all about. And that's why I want to have the standing firm conversations, because people need to know that this isn't a time to just stop. This isn't a time to forget and hunker down with Netflix. You know, we can do that a little bit, but I really believe this is our chance as a planet to up level. We're shifting paradigms and we're going to be changing. The question is to what? And we get to design that. And let's not do it by default. Let's do it by design. So how do we do that? How do we start having those critical conversations? And I really think it begins with us and moving forward from there. So I want to thank you, Sree, because you have been a shining star and an example of that over and over again in the calls that I've listened to. Calling people to action, calling people to think bigger, think creatively, use your time well. This is a chance we can practice some self-development. You know, what are you watching when you're watching? I don't have network channels. I do all streaming. So I am, you know, the YouTube person looking for the interesting stuff and the scientific stuff and learning, like today with my kids as part of our homeschool time. We watched several videos on exactly how you can get the soap taking apart the lipid layer of the virus and why it works and why we need so we can go there deep, and we can learn, grow, get creative. We don't have to stay stuck. And that's my message of hope. I really see that the human race is full of resilience, and we have the technology. We just have to, you know, move forward.
I love that. I just want to read Rick Botello saying, reframe isolation as solitude for personal and professional development. This COVID could birth a new civilization, maximize post-traumatic growth, and minimize PTSD. Wonderful series of thoughts from Rick Botello. Do connect with him if you're on Facebook, and do connect with AliciaMarie Belchak. Thank you so much. My former student at Columbia Journalism School, class of 03.
J2K.
J2K. That's right, J2K. That's right. Wonderful to see you again, AliciaMarie, and I wish you the very best. And I know you have a busy household with a lot going on, so we'll let you go. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye. All right.
That was inspiring. That was cool.
That was inspiring. I want to see you top that, buddy.
Tough act to follow. I will say that, well, first of all, I want to say that PTSD, we need to be very clear by a scientist who studies PTSD in relation to major events. And this one's going to have a lasting impact. And whatever we do in the future, we need to be aware of that and address it, because everybody's going to be triggered by something. But the positive stuff, I am thrilled, as somebody who used to be a science reporter, we now have a public, at least a larger percentage of the public, that is embracing learning about science. It's a start.
So that gives you hope that that might continue. Yeah. And this is part of the book. I'm not this is the Amazon.
So I won't get into the details, but on Amazon, the book is called The Communications Handbook for Public Health and Other Emergencies, Express Edition.
Okay.
It is the first half of the new book. So this is basically all the stuff that is relevant right now. And it's essentially, if you want the rest of the book, you have either that Sree's got on the page, or the print edition, when it is eventually out, will be the whole thing. If you want the ebook version of the book, you got to go to Barnes & Noble or your favorite local bookstore other than Amazon.
And so, yeah, that's too complicated to get into for now, but at least people can find you. If they go to Doug Levy on Amazon, they can find it, and in other places as well. So before we wrap up, Doug, your SF Doug on Twitter, what is giving you, like, what are you doing day to day? Like, what's the next thing you're going to do? It's a little earlier in San Francisco than here. It's the end of the day.
Well, my days have been starting at 6:30 or 7 in the morning and not finishing till sometimes 10 or 11 at night. I'm mostly working with folks that work in hospitals, trying to help them frame their communications, primarily focused on internal, because you've got to keep your troops comfortable and motivated, because this is unbelievably difficult work for the respiratory therapists, nurses, physicians, even the clerical people. Everybody who's working in healthcare right now is in a situation nobody ever imagined they'd be signing up for. No. And we have to acknowledge them at every possible moment.
Mark says people's sleep habits seem to be all over the place. Are you sleeping? What sleep? Steve says, thanks, Sree, for assembling another panel of fantastic folks. I agreed, they're fantastic. Thank you so much, Doug, for joining us. I'm going to let you get back to your day. Please follow him at SF Doug. He's already working on his next edition, the update of his book. So get in touch with him if you have tips, ideas. Maybe you could be a source for his book. So check it out at SF Doug.
Ideas, please send them my way.
And also, you can hire Doug to come and speak, not come on speak, but be on a conference call or some way in which you want to communicate. He's been, I've known him for 15, 20 years because he was running the comms for Columbia University Medical Center and took a dysfunctional comms setup there where they were all siloed, and then he made it into, along with a lot of other great colleagues, CUMC, the Columbia University Medical Center, and a really clear communications, which is so important at this time. Doug, thank you for all you've done to help people. He's also a trained EMT, right?
Lapsed, but yes, I was a firefighter and EMT for 9 years, which is how I got emergency stuff.
Yeah, that's so important. Thank you. And Tim says, do you ever sleep? Yes, I do. I sleep every day. I sleep 5 hours is my goal, 5 to 6 hours. I'm up at 5:30, so if anyone ever wants to text me and chat, please let me know. Rose says she doubts I sleep, and Jonathan says great program. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye to Doug, and I'm going to remind people, bye, Doug. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your being here. Thank you all for being here. I am so grateful that you're here. Thank you for retweeting, for sharing. Thank you to Rose Horowitz and Vandana Menon for tweeting. For everyone who's come up with a guest idea, I'm so grateful. It means so much to me. Thank you. Please send them. I'm doing this every day. Looks like we'll be doing this for a very long time. That's my commitment that I'm here. I want to thank our wonderful guests, Doug, AliciaMarie, and Asha Jayaraman. And then I want to remind you about this incredible program we have tomorrow morning, 11 hours from now, live from Hong Kong, HKU experts on the COVID-19 pandemic and the world's top expert on infectious disease, one of them at least, Professor Yuen Kwok Yung, is going to be with us, and we're going to talk about microbes. We're going to talk about face masks. We'll talk about other lessons from Asia that we missed out on here, perhaps in the United States. It's 9 p.m. in Hong Kong, 9 a.m. Eastern. It is 1 p.m. in London. Please do join us. Please be with us. You're going to learn a lot, I promise you. You're also going to just see what is happening in that part of the world. And we'd love to have you. And Steve says he was aim for 5 hours of sleep and a 25-minute nap. Steve is young, so he can do that. Doug says, great to be part of this community. So before we go, I want to thank our wonderful first ever sponsor of our show. And you can all see and benefit from what he does. Tim Sohn and Sohn Social Media Solutions have very kindly sponsored this daily COVID-19 call. And we'd love your support and your participation by, if you have something of a product idea or service you'd like to sponsor, get the word out about, please let me know. And we would love to get you in front of such a great crowd from around the world every day. And Tim's course is called Survive with Live Video, and it's $0 to $100. It's what you can afford to pay. Now is the best time to launch your own consistent live stream show during these challenging times. Consumption of live video is up 50%. Join live streaming expert Tim Sohn, co-host of the Tim and Jim Show and the Family First Show, starting this Monday, April 6th, in his 2-month Survive with Live Video founding members program, along with 6 other professionals who've already signed up. Message Tim with questions and sign up, as you can see, at Sohn Social Media Solutions. So this ad that he's running will run with us through Monday, because his program starts on Monday. $0 to $100. Please check it out. Please sign up. Tell your friends. Anybody who's interested in live streaming should watch this. And I will say to you that after Monday, we'll need more ads. So please do sponsor us. Please send us a note if you'd like to explore being an advertiser. I promise you, it's very affordable. But I want to say to you, thank you so much for your support. Thank you for everything you're doing to prop me up by attending, by asking questions, by sharing, by sending people along to me to talk. And we all are going to get through this together. My plan is to do this every day, as long as I'm not sick, to do this, and to celebrate life and to take note of the news that does happen. But thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you for your friendship and your support. I'm Sree at sree.net, SREE at SREE.net, at Sree on Twitter, at sreenet on Instagram, and over on YouTube, I'm Sreenet. Please subscribe. What we've learned is that Facebook and Twitter is really good for getting people aware about something. Facebook is to have the deepest engagement, and then YouTube is where you go to have a good archive, because YouTube is already the 2nd largest search engine, and getting in there and learning all about it is really important. Thank you very much, everybody. Please join me tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., lessons from Asia and COVID masks and other things we're going to learn from Asia. I'm very, very grateful to all of you. I want to see if there are any other comments coming in. Mark says he takes a cat nap sometimes, and Mark has already signed up. That's great. And Mark says we're amazing, I hope he was talking to Doug and everybody else. And Doug says wonderful to be part of this global community. And AliciaMarie says, thank you to everyone who participated today. I'm really grateful and honored to be part of this conversation and bringing the perspectives from Michigan, Michiganders. I'm going to ask the 2 of them to stay in our virtual green room so I can say goodbye and thank you to them in a minute. But to all of you, I say thanks, and I wish you the very best, and all good luck to everybody, and good luck to us all. Thanks very much. Goodbye from the epicenter, as we hold good thoughts for everyone who has been troubled and hurt and has just had suffering because of this horrible situation. Thank you very much. Be safe, everybody. Stay home if you can. Bye.